Okay, let's dive right in with maybe the biggest question there is. Is the reality you see all around you even real? I mean, really. We're going to take a journey together to deconstruct literally everything you think you know. The ground beneath your feet, the clock on the wall, all of it. So yeah, get ready, because your world is about to get a little weird.
So, I want you to just take a second. Look around you. Right now, that screen, the room you're in, does all of that stuff exist on its own, completely separate from you? Or is there something far stranger going on? We're about to pull the rug out from under, well, everything.
All right, first up, our solid reality, the caterpillar's world. You know, for most of us, we live our lives in what you could call the caterpillar's world. It's the reality that feels totally solid, totally normal, and just real. But what if, just like a caterpillar on a leaf, our view is actually incredibly limited? I mean, think about it. We're basically taught from day one that the universe is split in two, right? There's you, and then there's everything else out there. Our senses, our eyes and ears, they're just like a camera, passively recording a world that's already there. But what if that simple split, me in here, the world out there, is actually the biggest illusion of them all?
Okay, section 2. The quantum puzzle, entering the chrysalis. And this is where things start to get really strange, because quantum mechanics just blows that simple picture right out of the water. It's like our little caterpillar of understanding is just crawled into its chrysalis, and everything we thought was solid starts to dissolve into this weird quantum goo.
So, at the very heart of all this quantum weirdness is something called wave function collapse. It sounds complicated, but here's the gist. Before you look at a tiny particle, like an electron, it's not actually in any one place. It exists as this fuzzy cloud of every possibility at once. It's everywhere and nowhere. But the instant you measure it, the second you look at it, poof, that cloud of possibilities collapses into one single real spot. The huge, mind-bending question is, what makes it do that? What causes that poof? Okay, let's break this down step by step with something called the observer effect. So first, you've got an electron that's in a superposition. It's in location A and B at the same time. Then a machine comes along to measure it, but the machine just gets tangled up in the weirdness too. Now it's measuring both possibilities at once. But here is the absolute game changer. Step 3. A conscious person looks at the machine. And apparently, consciousness just can't handle that fuzziness. The very act of you, a conscious being looking at it, forces the whole system to make a choice. It snaps into a single reality. It's either A or it's B, not both.
And this leads to the absolutely wild conclusion from physicists like Eugene Wigner. He basically said, the consciousness of an observer is the demarcation line that precipitates collapse of the wave function. What he's saying is, consciousness isn't just watching the show, it's creating the show. It's the thing that draws the line between a blurry world of maybes and the solid reality we actually experience. Your awareness is the active ingredient.
So, hold on. If solid things aren't really solid until we look at them, what about space and time? You know, the very fabric of reality itself. I mean, if the actors on the stage are just fuzzy possibilities, how can the stage be any more real? Well, it turns out it's not. Even space and time start to melt away when you look close enough, dissolving back into that same primordial reality goo. I love this quote from the theory of biocentrism. It says, "We carry space and time around with us like turtles carry their shells." Just think about that. Space and time aren't this giant empty box that we exist inside of. No, they're part of our own biology, our own perception. They're literally the shell we use to make sense of everything, not the world itself.
And here's another way to think about it, from scientist Donald Hoffman. He says space-time is basically your computer's desktop. You see the icons, you click on folders, it's super useful, right? But those icons are not the reality of the code and the electricity buzzing inside the computer. And Hoffman says that's what evolution did for us. It gave us a handy user interface, not to show us the truth, but to hide the truth, because the reality is just way too complicated for us to handle.
So if you follow that thought, and this is a big one, if space and time are just our user interface, then cause and effect, one billiard ball hitting another, that's also just part of the interface. It's a useful story, but it's not what's really happening. It's like dragging an icon to the trash can. It looks like you're causing it to be deleted, but the real cause is happening deep down in the programming. The things we see aren't the real causes. And that brings us to the nature of time itself. On the one hand, we have our everyday experience of it, right? It feels like a flowing river, always moving forward. But on the other hand, there's this idea from physics called the block universe. In this model, the past, the present, and the future, they all exist at the same time. The whole movie is already there, every single frame. And our consciousness is just the projector light, shining on one frame at a time, which gives us the feeling that time is passing.
Okay, consciousness takes the stage, the new paradigm. So let's recap. We've basically dissolved matter, space, time, and even cause and effect. Everything we thought was the bedrock of reality has turned to goo. So, what's left? Well, this leads us to a completely different way of looking at things, a new paradigm where the one thing we can't deny, our own consciousness, moves from the audience to center stage.
So this is really the ultimate showdown. The old way of thinking, materialism, says matter came first. The universe is made of stuff, and consciousness is just a lucky accident that happens in brains. But the new paradigm, this alternative view, flips it entirely on its head. It asks, what if consciousness is the one fundamental thing? And what if matter, space, and time are just things that happen inside of consciousness? Let's get clear on what this alternative view is really saying. First, consciousness is the absolute core of everything we experience. It's not something the brain makes, it's the other way around. The brain is an experience within consciousness. That means space, time, matter, the whole shebang, are all just patterns or phenomena that arise from consciousness. And what's wild is that this isn't just a new idea. You see versions of it in ancient wisdom traditions and, weirdly enough, from some very modern scientists.
Now I know this diagram looks pretty intense, but stick with me because the idea behind it is actually pretty straightforward. It's a model showing how an observer's consciousness could literally project the 3D world we see. So you're not just a camera recording a pre-existing world. Your awareness is the projector. It's creating your internal world of thoughts and feelings, and it's creating the external world you see around you. They're two sides of the same coin, both flowing from that single source of consciousness.
All right, final section. The butterfly emerges, a personal metamorphosis. Because look, this isn't just some abstract physics problem. This has massive implications for who you think you are. It points to a deep personal transformation, a journey from that limited caterpillar self to becoming something else entirely, something new. And this personal journey really mirrors the scientific one we just took. We start off as the caterpillar, right? We feel separate, we feel small, dominated by our ego. Then, inevitably, we enter the chrysalis. This is that messy goo state where our old identity, our old beliefs, they all just dissolve. It can feel scary and confusing, but if we stick with it, we can emerge as the butterfly, a self that feels whole, connected, and aware of its true nature as a being of light.
So what does that actually look like in your life? Well, it's a huge mindset shift. The caterpillar is a high achiever for sure, but it's always chasing things outside itself. More money, more trophies, more likes, all to feel like it's good enough. The butterfly can be a high achiever too, but it's not looking for validation anymore. It's working from the inside out, driven by a deep sense of purpose, just trying to fulfill what it came here to do.
And this is so important to remember. This isn't something that happens once. It's not like you just wake up one day and you're a butterfly forever. It's a constant process. You are continually shedding old layers of yourself. Piece by piece, you let the old you disintegrate so a new, more real you can form. It's a lifelong journey of becoming.
So, let's bring it all home with this final thought. If the world you thought was so solid is just an interface, if space and time are just tools your consciousness uses, and if your own awareness is the foundation of everything, then maybe, just maybe, that small, limited version of yourself you've been carrying around is ready for a change. Your time as a caterpillar is over. The real question is, are your wings ready?